Right, here's the Prince. It's looking rather more complete now. The new saddle tank is all fabricated and finished, but this is just a trial fit because it needs to come off. The cab interior has been painted, as you see, and the piping's all going back together, largely as it was, but obviously there's a lot of refurbishment gone on in there. So the boiler's been fully inspected and hydraulic tested. We might need to do a further hydraulic test to start the 10-year date ticking. I'm not sure about that. We might do, but it'll need certainly need a minor exam and then a steam test before the loco's back in service. But that's not a massive job. The loco's hopefully be back available for traffic in April. Painted green to be like it was in 1954, and it'll be part of the 70 years of the Ffestiniog Railway Society celebrations this year. So the tender we're not going to do a lot to because it doesn't need a lot of work. Obviously the wheel sets are all done, the crank pins have been fitted, all the motion reassembled, so there's a lot of work gone on, but apart from the colour, you won't notice that many changes to the Prince. Right, so as you can see, the taliesin is almost now completed. It's just the final few bits and pieces of things are going back together. The main steam pipes on, the superheaters are all done, spark arrest is all done. The cab fittings are being refitted. So in the next few weeks this should be done and available for traffic again. This is the bogie for 106, which is behind us there. It's having new wheel sets. As you can see, they've been fitted up with the roller bearing axle boxes and the metacones, so they're ready to go into the bogie. So the reason why it's having new wheel sets is not that the old wheel sets are worn out, but they are reasonably worn. These are the old wheel sets that have come out of the bogie, the two bogies from 106. They can be reprofiled to bring the profile back, but obviously the tread is a lot thinner than the new wheel sets. So these wheel sets are going to have a new life under the ash-free bogie carriage that's currently being put together in the carriage works. So we built new bogie frames for that vehicle, but we wanted to use some wheel sets that are good but are towards the end of their life, because in the ash-free it's not going to be a high mileage vehicle. It'll be a gala events, special trains, maybe some shuttles on the Welsh Highland. So it'll see a reasonable amount of use, but it won't be a high mileage regular use vehicle like 106 is. So it makes sense to put the new wheel sets under 106 and cascade the older ones to the Ashbury replica. This is the Una's boiler from the Slate Museum at Llanberis. So we've got the contract to replace the inner firebox and the front tube plate. So this boiler, I think, was built in the 1930s by the Port de Norwich Dry Dock Company, we believe. So the boiler barrel has been thickness tested, as you can see. There's lots of measurements all over it and it's not too bad. But the boiler inspector had condemned the inner firebox. We're going to make it a new inner firebox, and we've ordered the parts to make it. We've ordered flanged plates, the firebox back plate and the firebox tube plate flanged, and a wrapper. But instead of riveting the inner firebox together, we're going to weld it together, like we did on the Felinheli new boiler. So all those measurements have come off the original drawings, which we've got copies for, and we've checked the dimensions by measuring. So if you have a look inside, you can see that there isn't a firebox there. So you can see the inner firebox is gone. There's the remains of the plates on the stays. So these are the palm stays. They attach to the barrel. And these are the throat plate stays, and then side stays. So the inner firebox has been completely cut out. So the next thing to do is to then remove the stays, because obviously they can't be reused. So you take, say, this stay here, we'll grind the head off, and then hopefully we will be able to unscrew the stay from the outer plate, having cut it off. We'll cut off the remaining head inside, so somebody can go with an angle grinder, cut all those inner stay heads off, and then hopefully I'll be able to unscrew the remains, leaving the plate threaded in the outer firebox. So then we'll probably be taking the foundation ring out, which is still in at the moment, if you have a look in there. So here's the foundation ring, and so these rivets will all have to come out, and then this foundation ring can drop out. Hopefully the foundation ring will be reusable. So once all the stays are out, the foundation ring's out, and this fire hole ring will be taken out as well, like the foundation ring. So these rivets can have the heads cut off outside and then knocked through that way, releasing the ring. So once we've done that, then all the outer firebox can all be cleaned up inside, and then we'll get the boiler inspector in and get him to have a look and see if there's any more areas that will need replacing or repairing. So an area that might need some repair is just above the foundation ring on the outer wrapper. So once the foundation ring's out, we'll be able to have a good look. Say it can all be cleaned up, and we can have a proper further inspection, and we'll know exactly what work's required. So here's some more bits of the inner firebox that's been cut out with the with the gas. This is the crown of the inner firebox, and these are the girder bars that basically stiffen the top of the firebox. They're not attached to the outer wrapper like some boilers, but these girders just stiffen the plate. They're bolted through with these bolts, so the plate is held up to the girder, and then the load is transferred to the sides and ends of the firebox. So this is a common arrangement for supporting firebox crowns. So this crown was thin. You can see the wastage of the plate between the girder bars. It's relatively thin here. So that's the main reason for taking the inner firebox out and replacing it. So hopefully these girders we can reuse. They look in reasonable condition just at a first glance, but obviously we'll clean them up and we'll talk to the boiler inspector and see what he thinks, if they can go again. Hopefully they will. Seam between either the back plate or the tube plate, probably the firebox back plate I think. You can see it's bent around or flanged around, and then it's riveted to the next plate. So instead of using rivets here, we'll have a butt weld here, and we'll make a one-piece. We'll end up with a one-piece inner firebox that's all welded, but it'll be the same shape, and it'll fit the foundation ring. We can hopefully fit the girders. Maybe some adaptation will be required in the shape slightly, but so obviously welding the inner firebox together is today it's easier and better than riveting an inner firebox. It'll be as good, if not better, than the original, and last for, well, who knows, many years, 50 years, 100 years maybe, with the mileage that this loco does. So this is the front tube plate of the boiler. This plate is one that the boiler inspector wanted to see replaced, so we'll be taking this off. You can see why he wants it replacing, because of this corrosion that's gone on down here. This has been caused by basically soot, char build-up in the smoke box, and it's just eaten away at the plate. So we've got on order again from Israel Newton's in Cromford a new tube plate, basically a piece of boilerplate that shape. So we'll undo these stay nuts, and then we'll get rid of these rivets all the way around here that hold the tube plate to the barrel angle. The tube plate will come off. Possibly we might reuse this curved flange. Could weld that to the new tube plate, or it might be better to renew it. We'll see. But basically the smoke box bolts onto this, and this is not a pressure part. This metal here isn't pressurised, but obviously this bit is. So this is the main steam pipe where it comes out of the boiler and then drops down to the cylinders. So once this is off, again we can get in and have a proper look at the barrel, see if there's any damage that needs repairing. Maybe there might be some localized welding to do to make up some corrosion, maybe in the bottom of the barrel. I don't know. It's, obviously you can't inspect it with this on or the firebox in place. So we're still at an investigative stage of the job, but it will, once we've done all this initial work, got it all cleaned and looked at by the board inspector, we'll have a good idea of what needs to be done, and we'll be able to crack on. Okay, so this is a power bogie from the David Lloyd George. It's basically in for a minor overhaul. Pistons and valves are out for examination, and we're going to fit new rings. The wheel sets have been reprofiled. The frames have been checked for cracks. That's what this dye penetrant stuff is here, which should show up any cracks in the frames. This is the usual place we get cracking, from the top of the horn gaps. But I don't think there's no cracking been found, so that's good. So basically, it's a light mechanical overhaul, which will mean it'll be in good condition for this coming season. This is the first power bogie to be done. We'll do the same to the second power bogie. Then it'll go back to traffic. This is a new wagon chassis that's under construction. There's a gang of volunteers that come twice a year for a week or so. They've taken on this project to build this chassis, so they've cut up lengths of steel, and they're starting to fabricate the stretchers and the other bits that will make a new chassis for a DZ, South African DZ wagon. So all the other bits will be transferred off the wagon, the bogies, the brake gear, the draw gear. I'll all be moved over to the new chassis, because basically this area on some of the originals is rotted through, probably mainly from the time in South Africa where if they've been stood near the sea in a tropical landscape that's warm and very corrosive. Right, this is the new Permanent Way Department tool van. Everything is entirely new apart from the bogies and brake gear. It's been designed to replace several older vehicles, so it's vacuum braked, so it can go on either railway. And be safer generally than uncontinuously braked stock. It's got these platforms at either end which you can use to put sleepers, ballast, tools, whatever, to go out to site. And then the middle section has a stainless steel body, stainless steel frame. It's going to be clad in stainless steel sheets, and there'll be basically, this is tool storage, so it'll be lockable, so it can be left out on site. So it should help the Permanent Way Department in their operation considerably. Be a lot more convenient. Being as it's a South African based vehicle, it's higher than the old RAF and Bocold stock, but so that makes it more difficult to access. But to counteract that, we've got these cut-in steps that make it relatively easy to get on and off. Handbrake, obviously, for parking purposes only, hopefully. Yeah, so it's well on the way. Just the bodywork to complete really now. This is Winifred's boiler. It's quite an old boiler and quite original in that it's got a copper inner firebox, which is in quite good condition. It's got copper stays. You can see here the copper material in the stay head that's been knocked over. Anyway, it's come here to have some repairs, not to the inner firebox because that's seemingly in good condition, but to the outer wrapper. So where the chalk lines are where we need to take away the outer plate and replace. So we'll be cutting this off, cutting down there, along there, taking away the outer plate to replace it. So one of the reasons why is that if you look at these stays, there's some corrosion in the outer plate between the copper and the steel, particularly this one here. If you see that area there, you can see the steel outer plate has been eaten where the copper's been next to it, and it's obviously thinned this outer plate. So again, hopefully we can unscrew the stays from the inner firebox very carefully so we don't damage the threads in the inner firebox. Cut all this out. Anyway, once these plates have been cut out, we'll get the boiler inspected again and you can have a look and see if there's any other work needed. So yeah, so it's a fair bit of work, but we'll be getting on with this in a while. It's in this wagon at the moment just to keep it mobile. But I'm not sure when it'll be in the workshop for work to start, but hopefully in the next few weeks or month or so. Yeah, last year the tubes were leaking in the Lilla, in the firebox end. We tried to re-expand them a couple of times, but they persistently leaked. So anyway, so we decided that it needed a retube, and anyway, Matt Ellis and with some assistance got the tubes out over the winter period, and then they put the tubes in last weekend or the weekend before. Put new tubes in. They've done a hydraulic test on it, and yeah, it's all seems to be good. So Lilla should be okay for another few years. Yeah, the Kerr Stewart diesel doesn't look particularly different than maybe last time we talked about it. However, all this bodywork is now held together with rivets. They had a volunteer group had a big working party last week, and they came and hot riveted all this bodywork together, several hundred rivets. Yeah, they've done a lovely job, very neat and original. Yeah, so they just need the engine to be done now, and we might see it going. So 87's been warmed up today because tomorrow it's going back to Dinas. It's taking some carriages up to Dinas that have been worked on here over the winter, and then also tomorrow 143 will come back from Dinas to here with some carriages that need some work or need to be at this end of the railway for some reason. So 87 is going to Dinas mainly for a boiler exam because it's just been stored here over the winter. So it'll be stripped down for an annual exam, but also it will have hopefully fitted a new design of fire grate with smaller gaps and no rocking grate fingers. We'll have rocking grate sections with slots in. That'll give us smaller air gaps, which hopefully will mean we'll get less unburnt or burning coal dropping through the grate into the ash pan, which will hopefully make the loco a bit more efficient and stop the ash pan fires problem that we've had on and off. So it's going to have a new brick arch, a new grate and a new ash pan, because the ash pan that it's got at the moment has got some damage, and we're going to replace it with an improved design. So hopefully that work will get done before 87 needs to go into traffic, but we'll see. Right, here's the Welsh pony, which is now all back together, as you see. The crank pins successfully went into the wheels, and so all the motion's been reassembled and put back together. It's had a boiler exam. It had a boiler exam without its wheels in, and a steam test without its wheels in, which was a bit odd. But anyway, so basically, Welsh pony is back together, got a boiler ticket, and ready for service. Here's the Merthin Emrys. As you can see, it's green, looking very nice and shiny. It's only got this season left of its 10-year boiler ticket, so it'll only be in the green colour for this year. So it's been done like this because it's this year is 70 years of the Ffestiniog Railway Society. So this green colour looks like a shall we say a late 1950s, 1960s fairly might have been painted. And also it'll be featuring in the 200 wheels on the cob event in June. So we're aiming to have at least 200 locomotive wheels on the cob in some sort of parade going across the cob on the weekend in June nearest to Midsummer's Day. So that'll be quite a sight to see.